Yes. So today the topic for discussion is the collections. So first of all, let's see what is collections. So collection is just you can think as a container to store the data. So if you want to store some data, uh, uh, let me just take a cell here. If you want to store the multiple in single variable or access the data using a single variable, so you can store that particular data into a container. So let's take a simple example. Let's say you want to store the colors together all together. So let's take red, blue, and green. These are the colors that you want to store together and access using a single variable. So what you can do, so you can do that is that you can store them in the particular collection. So in the Python, we have four built-in collections, which are list, tuple, set, dictionaries. So they are different in some sense of their properties are little bit different. So let's take them one by one. So first of all, let's see what is a list. So list, you can say the property I have written here, that ordered, changeable, and allows duplicate values. So first of all, let's see what is a list. So list is the collection represented by the brackets, square brackets, and whatever data you want to put it in that. So that will be the list. So let's take. Let me connect that. Let's take the above example: cell red, blue, and green. So if you run this cell and check the type of A, so let's see what it shows. Sorry, it is still connecting, so let's wait for a couple of seconds. Yes, it is connected. Yes, it is connected and it will be run now. Yes, so as you can see here, the type of the A is list. So we see the first property that the list is represented by the square brackets. So let's take the other properties. So it is ordered. So as the where Nikhil told yesterday that indexing starts from zero and we can access about the string, that we can access its characters letter by letter. So let's access that particular thing here. So let's see what is A0. So it is showing red. Now let's see what is A1. It is taking longer to execute the simple cells. So as you can see that A0 is representing to the red and A1 will be representing to the blue. So from this we can see that these are the ordered. They are storing the elements in the particular order, that the elements can be accessed ordered manner. And another one is the changeable. As Nikhil told yesterday that we cannot change the strings after declaring it. That means that they are immutable. So if you let's take the single example of string. This is, let's take my name Rahul. So if you try to change the zeroth position letter by something else, it gives us the error. So As you can see that it is giving me the error because the strings are immutable. That means that after declaring it, we cannot change that particular value of the string. So if you change it, it is giving me error. You can say that this is giving that the type error. So the string does not support the item assignment. So this name of the error can be useful for us in the exception handling. Okay, but that's not a part here. Let's try to assign the value of, let's print our a again. And now let's check whether we can assign the values, reassign the values to a different. So as we can see that our list is showing here. So let's try to change red to black. Now see whether it is giving us any error. So we can see that it didn't give any error. So let's check that updated value of the list. So here we can see that the value of the list get updated. A0, which was the red, is now updated with the black. So this is the second property, that the list allows the changing. So it is mutable. So list is mutable. So remember this word, mutable and immutable. Immutable means we cannot change after declaring, and mutable means we can change after declaring. So that's what the second property. And third property is allows duplicate values. So we know that a has the a now has the three values, black, blue and green. Now let's try to insert a. So append is the one method which gives us to, which allows us to add the element at the last. So let's try to append a black in the list. So we can see that it didn't give us any error. And if you try to print the a, we can see that the a black is appended at the last position. So our list is now black, blue, green and again black. So this is the basics of the list. Let's now see some of the methods that are built in available for us to uh, do some operations on the list. So let's that's the building function len. So it can be used on any iterable. Iterable means which we can iterate over. So string is a iterable list, tuple, all the collections are the iterable. So len function gives us the number of items in a container. So now you can see that we have the four items in our list. So it is giving us the four, which is the length of the list. So now let's see how to add items in the list. So the first method is insert. By using insert, we can add the item in that particular location. So as you can see here that it is showing index comma object. So index is the location where you want to insert that particular item, and object is the item that you want to insert. So let's again insert red into the index 0. So at the beginning we had red at the index 0. Now let's do that again and print a again. So here you can see that the red is inserted at the 0th location. So indexing starts from 0. So here the red is started at the first position in the list. The next is append. We already saw that append appends that item in the last position. So in append we don't have to give the location because we already know that we are going to add that item in the last position. So append just add the element in the last position. So it was the green last here, but after appending the black, it is showing black in the last position. So now let's extend is another method. So now we know that A has the red, black, blue, green and black. So let's make another list. So for list we use the square brackets. Let's here car, bike. So this is our another list. Now if you want to add this list to the list A, so what we can do is we can use the method called extend. So extend is the method. In the extend method we use the another iterable. So we can use any iterable. So we can use the tuple, list, dictionary, set or string. So it will add that items in the iterable to the first where we want to extend the list. So if you add a B here and print A, so now it will be showing that all the items in the previous items plus the items in the B list. So A is get extended. So that's the method. Now let's see another method. So this was these three methods are used to insert items in the list. So now let's see how to remove the items from the list, what to do if you want to delete a particular item from the list. So the method, there are several methods to do that. So first method is the remove method. This method what it will do is that it it will remove the first appearing element from the list. So if you see in the list that we have the black two times in the list. So if you want to delete first black, so we will directly type black in here and print it again. So here we can see what the changes are made in the our list. So you can see that the first black was deleted. So it is now showing red, blue, directly blue. It is removed black, and the rest of the elements are as it is. So remove is the method which searches for the element in the list and deletes the first appearing element in the particular list. But if there is no element present, so it will be give us error that the element not found. So if the element is not present, it will give error. So let's see another method to delete the element. This is called pop. So there is one case in here. So if here you can give the index of the element that you want to delete. So here index 1 is the blue. So if you pop the blue, so the changes will be red, green, black, car and bike. And it also shows what element is deleted. So it is showing that blue is popped out from the list. So and now if you see the list, our original list again, so it will be showing us that the red, green, black, car and bike. Yes, you can see that the blue is also deleted from the list. But there is one case in pop that if you don't provide a location in the pop, it will delete the last element present in that particular list. So here we are not providing any location, so it will delete the last element in the pop function. So it will delete the last element from that list. So the last element is bike. So if we run this cell, the we will have only four elements left in the our list. It is taking little time. So yes, you can see that we have the four element left in the list. So these are red, green, black, and car. So we had a bike at the last of the list, but it is now popped out. So this is another method to delete a element. So these are the two elements. But what if we want to delete the complete list? So this is another one. So if you want to complete delete a list, so you can use the del. So del stands for deleting object. So we had defined a b. We had defined a b earlier in here. So if we delete b here, it will delete the b, and if we try to call the b again, it will give us an error that the b does not exist. So let's see. So b is deleted, and now if we try to call the b list, so it will give us error that the b is not present. So this is giving us error, that name error, b is not defined. So we deleted the b. But what if we want to clear the means empty the list? You want to delete every element from the list but not the complete list. So if you just want to clear the list, so if you know that we have the truncate function in SQL that deletes the data from the tables and keep the table structure. So it is like that. If you want to clear the list, if you type like this and print the a, so it will show that a is empty now. So it will just showing the two brackets with no elements in it. So as you can see that there are no elements present in the list. So these are a few methods. So let's take a few more methods. So for that we will need to add the elements. So can someone tell me how to add an element in the list?
We can use append.
Yes, we can use append. So append a. We can use this multiple times. B. There is one more thing in the containers, that we can store the data of the any data type. So here we are storing the data of the list string type only, but we can use the any type of data. So let's append some of the integer. So some float 1.4, some boolean value. So for boolean, let's say true. So we can have the any type of data in the list. So unlike array in standard C++, array holds the data of only single type of data in the array. So but here in the list we can store not only in the list but all the containers, list, set, tuples, dictionaries. We can store the data of any data type. So here you can see that first two are the strings, the third one is the integer, fourth one is the float value, and last value is the boolean value. So the so this is the one of the property of the list. So there is another method to sort the elements. So let's say we have the list L1 that has, so let's take a numerical example so that we can understand it better. So we have certain numerical values in this, and if you want to sort that values, so if you want to sort it in ascending order, so what you can do is you can use the sort method, which will sort the elements in ascending order. By default it is ascending order, but if you want to sort the element is descending order, then you have to pass one keyword in it. So let's first see what the sort did. Hmm, what is taking that much time here? Yes. So you can see that these all the numbers in the list are now in the ascending order, starting from -1 to 9. All the numbers are sorted. What if you want to sort the element in descending order? So you can do what is that you can pass reverse is the keyword here. You can pass reverse as true, and if you want, if you check the list again, you can see that the numbers are in reverse order, that is from 9 to -1. So this is another method in the list. So these are the all different methods. There are many more methods available in the list, but you can what you can do is you just type the variable name of the list, and like the Nikhil said yesterday, you can put a shift tab and you can see all the different methods available in here, that we have sort, reverse, remove, extend. We have seen almost all the methods, but you can explore on your own that what methods do what exactly. So this was all about the list. So now let's see about the set, sorry, tuple. So first we'll see tuple, then we'll see set. So what is set? So set is just like the list itself, but there is one difference in set, that set are immutable. That means that if you declared a set, sorry, I'm saying set again and again, but it's tuple. So sorry, what did happen? So we are going to see tuple. So like list, tuple is also same. It is ordered. It is it is ordered. So it is ordered, but it allows duplicate values. These are same as the list, but the one difference is that we cannot change the values in the list after declaring it. So like the string, these tuples are immutable. So after declaring a tuple, you cannot add or delete a particular item from the tuple. So for the tuple, let's take T1. For the tuple, to declare a tuple, we use the brackets. And for the list, we use the square brackets, and for the tuple, we use the parentheses, these brackets. And like the list, we can have the data of the any data type. So let's take example here, like BMW, which is a string. Let's take 150, which is a number. Let's take 1.99, which is a float, and boolean value false. So this is the way to declare a tuple. So tuple can hold the multiple data types. It is ordered that we can access the tuple using the 0 1 like indexing and slicing. So we didn't see slicing in here. So first of all, let's see here, and then we'll do the same thing in the list also. So first see the indexing. Indexing starts from zeroth location. So T10 is BMW, so it will give us the BMW in here. But what if you want to see the first three values or first two values of that tuple? So what we can do is we can use the slicing. So like yesterday Nikhil showed the slicing on the string. In that same way we can use the slicing in here. So yes, the result is BMW as we expected. So for slicing we have the start, end, and step, which is same for all the containers or all the iterables. So this is the one thing that we have to remember. Yes, any questions? Okay, we'll continue. So if you so now we have to access the first two elements. So let's say 0. We are going to start from 0. The start is inclusive, which means that the start will be considered, but the end is exclusive, which means that the end will not be considered. So the elements before the end will be up to that element we are going to access that particular list tuple or any iterable. So for the first two elements we have to put 3 in the end, so it will give us the first two elements, which are the BMW and 150. So in the same way we can do that in the list also. So start, end, and step value. So here we will get the output as BMW and 150. So as we cannot change the values in the tuple, so there are very few, sorry, we put 3, so 3 is inclusive in here. So we are getting all three values. So unlike string, we are getting the three values. So this is the one difference here. So both the values are inclusive. No. Sorry. So the indexing starts from 0. So the third is the false. So we are getting the first three values. Sorry, my mistake. End is exclusive. So whatever the value we put in the end, so we will stop the element before that. So we are getting 0, 1, 2, which is BMW, 150, and 1.99. Sorry for that. So we know that we cannot change the element in the, so let's try to change the element. Let's see what we can, it gets. So if you want to change the BMW to Porsche and print it again, so let's see what happens. It is going to give an error. So it will be the type error. So it will say that the assignment is not allowed. Yes, as you can see that it is showing that the assignment is not allowed. Tuple object does not support the item assignment. So that's the one thing about the tuple. So this is the only difference between tuple and list, that we can change the elements, manipulate the elements in the list, and we cannot change the elements in the tuple after declaring them. So this is one difference. So this is it about the tuple. Now, so there are few methods that are all present for all the iterables. So one is the count method. So if you want to see how many times a particular item is present in that particular iterable, so this count method is valid for all the iterables from string and all the collections like the list, tuple, set, and dictionaries. So it will count that how many times a particular element is present. So we have the BMW one time, so it will give us that BMW is present one time in that tuple. So this is for all the iterables. This method is available for all the iterables. Yes. So there is one more method for the ordered collections or ordered iterables, that what if you want to check the index value of the BMW. So we know that the BMW has the is the first element in the tuple, so its location is 0, index value is 0. So let's see what the index value we get. So index will return the index of that particular element in that iterable. So this is valid only for the ordered iterable, because in unordered iterable we do not access the elements using the index. So yes, here we can see that the BMW is at the 0th index. So this is about the tuple. Now let's see set. So what is set? Set is like the mathematical set we learned in the school. There are some, the property of the set is that it is unordered. Unlike the list and tuple, the values are in the set are unordered, so they are randomly ordered. The another property is the changeable, so we can change the elements in the set, unlike the tuple. So like the list, we can change the elements, but the only difference is that we do not allow duplicate values in the set. So unlike the list and tuple, a set does not allow the duplicate values. So we see that we had two black values in the list. So list and tuple allows the duplicate values, but set does not allow the duplicate values. So to declare a set, we use the curly brackets. So these are called as braces. So we use curly brackets. So like all the iterables, we can have the data of the any data type. So like the previous example, let's say BMW, another string, Porsche, and some numbers, some float values, and boolean. So if we see the S, it will show the all the values. So this is how you declared a tuple, sorry, set. So like we said, let's check whether it allows a duplicate value or not. So here you can see that this is unordered. This is not the way we declared it. So we had a BMW Porsche 120 1.5 and false in this manner, but after printing it, it is showing that 1.5 120 BMW false Porsche. So these are the randomly ordered, so that's why we said that the sets are unordered. And let's see whether it is changeable or not. So let's add some elements. So let's see some of the methods. So for adding an element, just like the we just need add. In this parenthesis, you take the item and what you want to add. So let's add apple and print s. It will show that the apple is added in the set. So yes, you can say that apple is added, but don't confuse that the apple is added at the last only. So it can be show us anywhere in that set. So don't say that it is appending to the last like the we did in the append method. So it is not like that. It is the randomly. So it just came randomly at the last. So don't confuse it with that. So now let's see how to remove an item. So as this is an order, we cannot use the index for any method. So there are not index based method for the set. So here we can use the item name itself. So what do you want to delete from that set? So let's say BMW. So whether it is deleting the BMW or not, let's print that again. Yes, so BMW is deleted, and if you see the S again, so it will give you all the elements of the set except the BMW. So as you can see that there were the 6 elements before, after adding the Apple, but after removing the BMW, we now have the 5 elements. But what happens if we try to remove the BMW again? We know that there is no BMW in the set, but what if we try to delete it? So let's try this. So let's see what happens. It is giving us the error that the BMW is not present in the set. Key error. So it is not present in the set because we deleted it before this step. So there is one again, there is one also method that if you want to delete the element, but if that element is not present in the set, it will not raise any error. So the method name is discard. So now let's try the BMW here. We know that BMW is not present, but let's try to delete it using the discard. So let's run that. Yes, you can see that it did not give any type of error that the BMW is not present or like that, but it just simply ignored that particular statement that the BMW is present or not. It doesn't, if that is not present, it just ignores that statement and goes to the next statement and printed the set for us. So this is the difference between discard and remove, that using the discard we delete the element, but if the element is not present, it will not raise any type of error. So like that. So if you want to clear the list, sorry, set, like the list, we can use the clear function. So it will remove all the elements from the set, and only we can have the empty set in that. So clear will remove all the elements. And if you try to print the S again, so S is the empty braces. There are many methods available with the set. You can use the shift tab, or if you are using the Jupyter notebook, then you can use the shift tab. But here I am using the Google Colab, which is the service freely available for use. So if you are using the Google Colab, it is same like the Jupyter notebook, all the features are same. But if you want to use the this feature of the shift tab in the Colab, then you have to use the control and space bar. So control and space bar will give all the available methods function for you. So here you can see that these are the different functions, or sorry, methods available for us. Add, clear, copy, this all. So this is for the set. Now let's take the dictionary, the final collection. So now let's see dictionary. So what is dictionary? So dictionary is also like the set. It is unordered and no duplicate values. These are the same property as the set, but the difference is that in the set we use the direct elements, but in the dictionary we use the key value pair. So let's take a dictionary example here. So dictionary also represent or initialize using the curly braces, but in the dictionary we have key value pair. So we will have the key value pair like the our dictionary, like the real life dictionary. We have the pages indexed, or there are the words are using the alphabetical order. So some pages have the starting of the letters. So in the corner you can see that the starting letters of that particular page. So like this, if you want to access the particular word in the dictionary, first you go to that particular page and then access here. So for accessing the value of the dictionary or the element in the dictionary, we have to use the key value of that. So let's create a dictionary. So unordered and no duplicate values are clear to us, that the unordered means they are randomly ordered, and no duplicate value means that it does not allow any duplicate values in that. So let's make a dictionary. So what does the key value pair means? So let's see, our key is car and its value is Porsche. And now let's see the number. We have number 10, and let's see what is let's take another example, color. So the color we can have red in here. So like all the containers or collections, we can have the data type, elements of any data type. So if we print a dictionary again, dictionary, we can see that all the elements are there with their respective keys. Now let's try to access. Let's try to access the number 10 in the dictionary. So for accessing the number 10, so you have to put the name of the key of that 10 here. So we know that the key name for 10 is number. So if we print, it is taking a long time. Sorry for that. I think my internet is a little slow. Just bear with me for a few seconds. Let it run. Yes. Now we can see that the values are randomly ordered, that we had car, number and color in this order, but after printing that it is giving number, car and color. So and if we try to print number 10. If you want to access the number 10, so you can access it only with the key value of that particular element. So we know that the key value of the number 10 is number. So if we put the number for accessing, so it will give us the 10. So like this. So what if you want, if you don't know the key value, so what, how to get the all the keys? So for that we can use dictionary dot keys. It will give all the key present in that dictionary. So it will give us the number, Porsche and color, sorry, number, car and color in the output. Why it is taking that long? Sorry, it got disconnected from the server. Hello, hello.
Yes, Rahul, you are audible.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, sorry for that, I got disconnected. So we were talking about the keys and values. So if you use the dot keys method, dot keys method will give the output as the all the keys. So number, car and color will be in the output. And what if you want to have all the values present in the dictionary? So for that you can use the dot values method. So dot values method will give you all the values that are present in the dictionary. So what if you want the both in the pair? So you want them in the key value pair. So what you can do is you can use the items method. The items method will give you the key value pair of all the elements present in that dictionary. So it is not, let me connecting to that server again. So is there any query up till now? So this is the last point I wanted to share with you. Hello, is there any query for anyone?
All good till now.
Yes, sir.
Maybe you
Sir, these
can.
last two cells,
Mhm, mhm.
yes, sir. I can stop sharing because I have told everything.
Okay, okay. So maybe you can throw some light on the applications, like where tuples can be used, where dictionaries can be used, where lists should be used. So that will give some more application wise idea to others.
Yes, definitely. So what we can say that, so all the implementation or where we can use is given in the properties that I have told you. So let let me think about the practical example. So mm, so if yeah, the data structure. So if you want to, okay, it will be a little deep for this session. So so I think this will more clearer when we start the actual programming or little bit of coding. So because we cannot say that you can use it particular in algorithm or that,
Okay,
because
Mhm.
if
like
I'm
the list can be used for implementation of the stack or queue like that, but I cannot say that like here.
okay, if I may, Rahul. So, hello.
Yes, please.
So, I'll tell
Yes,
few of the
please.
application. Uh, for list, we can apply any if we have have certain objects that we want to put in the list. So, the specification that Rahul said about each of the collection was indeed enough to tell us about all the application. Like list does not does apply have it does have duplication feature. It has you can it is also mutable in sense, so we can put anything in the list uh, in order to contain it. And we if we want to reuse that thing, suppose we have a vector, we have a grocery list. So if you go to the grocery list, your numbers might be changed, your prices may or may not change anything. So you can use that for a list for that. You can use list for the, suppose I want to store vectors vectors of the flight. Suppose I have it like we have flight positions. So each and every time the what was the flight's position, so we can store that in the list. So it might be changing from t equals to 0 to t equals to n, anything. So so we can leverage this uh, uh, things in our favor while using list. And while using tuple, we can say like something rigid. So we don't want that to be changed. Suppose we have an ID number for certain people, like I have a Aadhaar ID number, so I don't want it to be changed. Like, so for some reason while executing my code, so for some reason I by mistake I changed, I assigned it to something else, but I don't want that. So I want if I want the rigid structure or rigid collecting thing, so I'll go for tuple. So that was tuple. And for dictionary, it is very useful. There are ton of examples. Like if we have certain things, it will go for that. If suppose I have a data of uh, let's suppose a class. So we have a name. If we have a name, so we have lot of class students. uh, we can store all the names in same name tag, and then we have their roll number. We can store that in that tag. So you can see there is a lot of potential application for the dictionary. And dictionary is something like it is a way optimized thing than both of their counterparts like list and tuple. So and sets, it does not allow duplication. So suppose we have a missing value in our data set, so we can put our all our data in sets, and set has many application, as we know from the mathematics domain. So set collect supports all that in from intersection to everything, every join. Set supports that. So that was all about application part. Do we have any query on this, like how do we use or anything else, or I
Yeah,
was clear?
thank you, Nikhil, for elaborating it so nicely. So I just thought like this can be added up. Yeah, thank you. We can go ahead with next topic.
Okay. Okay. So today we are gonna learn about the control flow and loops. But before that, I think a couple of topic must be covered, because we can't use the control flow and looping without learning what is Boolean and what are the comparison operators. So operators will, and these things will be covered tomorrow in tomorrow's session also, while Ganesh will give the elaborated context, and uh, he will feature it way better in elaborated form. So he will cover all the bitwise operation in every operator out there in Python. So, but I will start off with the basic thing, really basic. I'll stick to the basic. I'll make it compact, and I'll see that we can work through that in order to complete our today's session. Okay. What is we know Boolean? This is a operator that allows you to convey true or false if certain statements are true or false. These are important when you deal with the control and logic. Let's say for an example, if we suppose I have a pool, if it's empty, I'll open the tap and fill it. So if and only if I have certain knowledge that is it empty or not. So if I want to check it before opening the tab, like is it empty or not? For the decision I want to make that it is, I want to open the tab or not, is dependent upon the Boolean value, that is true or false. Right? I think this is so. This is the notation. We have to capitalize the T while everything else is small. So this is true and other is false. See, it is highlighted, means it has a placed keyword in our Python interpreter. So uh, again, in order to successfully name your variable, you need to see you don't pass any keyword in that. Okay. Suppose I want to check, is 2 greater than 3? So obviously, sorry, 3 is greater than 2. Obviously, yes. So it hands me over true. So 2 is greater than 3? No. So we have an false. So this thing I missed yesterday. This thing I missed yesterday, that none type. While just a sec. Okay, fine. So while assigning some variable, suppose if I assign this variable, I have an error that it is not defined. So while if we need to cope up with this, and I suppose I want to use this variable where later, but not now, so I can highlight it to none type. This is none type, so it won't be throwing an error. Like if you want to check the type of or variable, what is the type? It would be none type. Yeah. So coming to the operators, comparison operator, we will be seeing this comparison operator. So first is equal to equal to. So see, while we were we were using assign operator, we have a single equal to sign. So if you want to assign 7 to var, it would be var equals to 7. But while if we need to compare certain statement or certain number to other or anything, sorry, so we need to use this double equal to. So suppose 8 is 8 equal to 7. No. Yeah. So we get false. So every comparison gives you a Boolean value as output. That helps us to determine some in control flow, we will be using this lot in order to make our decision. So in order to implement a logic, we definitely gonna use the comparison operator a lot and lot. So this was this 7. Suppose 7 is greater than 5. So yeah, it is. Was greater than, let's say 7 is less than 5. False. It is not. So this is the less than operator. So we have an operator. So so hmm, I'll add couple of. So we have a less than, suppose we have, if 7 is less than 5, yeah it is, or 7 is less than 7, yeah it is. So if we want to do is, we have a greater than equal to sign, so yeah, it comes out to be true. Similarly, we have less than and equal to sign. We can leverage all these things while creating our logic. So we will be doing that. So we have, and last not but not the least, we have and not operator. Is 7 not equal to 8? Yeah, true. It is not equal to 8. So suppose, is 7 not equal to 5? True. Or what about 6 not equal to 6? False, because it is. So what about, this was all about numbers. So what about strings? Can be string used as the operator? No, but not completely, but we can use it for compare. We can use the for equal to and not equal to. So let's see how. Suppose h equal to h. Yeah. So this is how it works. Suppose we'll add a not to it, not, so it is. So we get a false over here. This, and one more thing, if, let's see, if capital H is equal to small h, so what do you think? False, because it is not. String has its unique, it should be unique. Okay. This was all about comparison. I hope this comparison operator is clear. Okay.
Only not equal to and equal to can be used in the string.
Yeah, only.
Uh, because
While
I tried here with greater than and less than also, and it is still giving output as true and false.
only because
Yes, it compares the ASCII values.
yeah,
Okay.
not
Yes, Nikhil, it
literal.
compares the ASCII values.
Yeah, not that is for ASCII.
Okay, no problem.
Like ASCII, we have a car function, and we have, if you want to see,
ORD function, ORD and char.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I know. So we want to see ORD. It is 72. So it
Okay.
would compare 72 for you in that case.
Okay.
You should ignore this anyway.
No
Yeah.
problem. Okay.
Second thing is we need to uh, learn what are the logical operators. Okay, those are and, or, and not. You must be familiar with this logical operators if you belong to STEM domain. So so for example, if 2 2 is greater than 3, no, and we need another comparison, it is so we have false. We can do is we can use multiple like we can compare more than two statement. In this case, it is a default comparison is and both comparison has to be true to give you true. Like as you know what is and or. Ping me if you don't know, so I can elaborate it. So we can also use it with suppose 3 and 3 is greater than 1. It's true. So we have a see how it is highlighted. So if it is highlighted, you know it has some significant operation to it. So it is an and keyword used. So similarly, suppose 1 is equal to 1 and 1 is greater than 2. So it's false. So this statement was true, but this was false. So we get a false for and. Similarly, we have or suppose we'll use or here in the same example. 1, 2. So it is true for all operation or operation we need only one statement to be true. This is how we chain the our conditions. This is how we chain the condition. You can put n numbers of operation over here, doesn't matter. You will get the last output. Okay, so you can for like you if you want more control over your operations, so you can put is par your parenthesis, so you can have more control over your statement. So you can divide and it looks good. It's look good and it's more readable. Okay. That was all about. Oh, okay, not. Let me show you. So it is one of the shortcut I've been using. If you go outside the box and select the box, and after that, if you press B, it will insert a cell below your just below your cell. So you can do it multiple times. It is a nice. And if you want to set it up above, you need to press A. Okay. Now let's start off with control and control flow. Okay, let's learn control flow. We often only want certain codes to execute, right? While some particular condition is true. So for example, from the previous example, if we have our pool is empty or not. So that was the condition, and we need to control or tap then. So from the condition, then we will follow up with the or code. So for example, and another example, if my dog is hungry, suppose my dog is hungry, and believe me, he is. So if my dog is hungry, I'll feed him. If he's not hungry, I won't. So you see that. So let's learn the syntax. Okay, before that, we have couple of things in Python that makes Python language so unique. So one of the crucial things is every every function or loop or any such type of or classes you can say or anything has indentation. What it is called, it is also called, you can say, white spaces. It and it is crucial in that is what sets this Python language apart. What is it? So if so this syntax goes like this: if some condition, like say if 2 is greater than 3, okay, uh, whenever we finish up with our statement, we end up with this colon. If we press enter over here, we see we have a white space over here, right? This white space is nothing but indentation. So this tells our compiler that this code is under the hood of if we if I can say in the liquid language. So if it is true, print, suppose print yes. As you see, it is not, like 2 is smaller than 3, so it won't. So for that we have to pull or else statement. Same goes with this also. End up with this colon. If we hit enter, it will give you this space. Most probably your most of the text editor supports this feature. If not, you need to do it manually, which is uh, you need to give a 4 space from your statement, like 4 space by count. Mostly happens in some exams, like if you they give a default compile text editor which does not support any feature or autocomplete. So no. All right. No. Suppose let make me okay. I'll initiate a variable which is hungry, and I'll put it as false. All right. If hungry colon, I'll hit enter, print. If hungry is true, then feed me. Okay. Else print I am not hungry. Okay. So what do we expect? I'm not hungry because hungry is set as false. So we can put greater. Suppose I'll get it is greater than 80, right? So print you got B. So else, so we suppose we have only 3 ways. Either you get A, B, or you fail. So else you can imagine you can add multiple instant over here. You can, like, for example, you can add also for num greater than 70. Print got C. else print. So what do I get? I get a B because I have greater marks than 81. So is this control flow is it is also called if then else statements. Is it clear? How do we use it? Why do we use it? It was so another you will come across this a lot. So another example I want to check is one check is certain number is even or odd, right? It is a basic program. So suppose I have a number which correspond to, let's say 32. Yeah. So if number, we have learned about the modulo operator. If its remainder equals to 0, we have learned that it will be even thing. So print f yes number even. Else copy this is odd. So is it even? Yeah, guys, this was uh, app string formatting. It was introduced after 3.6 version. So it is another way of formatting. I guess I haven't taught you that. We back then we used format, which works fine. But this is also a way of formatting. Okay. So we have created a couple of codes. So you can see how effective is this flow, a control flow statement. You have created a couple of logic right now in the very beginning of this course, right? So do we have any question on this?
No, all good.
Okay, I guess not. Okay. Now we have talked about uh, iterators, right? Iterables. Uh, Rahul has explained uh, quite good. So we know what is iterables. Now I would like to tell you something about iterators. What is iterators and what is iterables? Iterables is this. Suppose I'll create a list of few numbers like 1, comma 3, comma 6, comma 8, comma 9. Okay. I have a list, my list, and here this my list itself is a iterable. We can iterate through this. So for example, what is iterator and what is iterable? Uh, uh, you know, in the childhood when you were reading your textbooks or you were made to read your textbook and you were made to keep your finger on the word which were you reading, right? So if I keep, suppose I'm reading first index, zeroth, which is zeroth index, which is 1, first index, that is 3. So the finger which I'm pointing, like suppose I'm pointing the finger which I'm calling out, 1, 3, 6. So the finger, you can assume it is it is it is also called iterator. So that is iterator. So every time, so it has a function called next. So it has called a function called next. So for every loop, I'll just bear with me in couple of minutes. I'll clear all the queries. So what is loop and everything? So in loop, we have the loop executes the next function every time it executes. Every time we execute loop, it will go through the next function in the iterators. So let's learn about first of all for loops. So its syntax. So for loop, for suppose item in what is my iterable over here? My list. My list. Okay. So here item is iterator and my list is iterable. So we start off with our keyword for item, which is the iterator in, because item would be in the in my iterator will always iterate the iterable, right? So yeah, I want to print what is my iterator, which is item. So what do we expect? We get every element of our list over here, right? This is the power of for loop. Like you can do multiple of things. Suppose we are running some project and we need to get the database. Suppose we have a multiple login ID piled up. My login ID password would be more comfortable to go with tuple, I guess, because it can't change in the server. In the server side, it would, but uh, it would okay. Let me go over there. Okay, so this was the for loop, basic for loop. How do we do this? So better, uh, for more readability, better you keep your iterator's name on the basis something relevant to your iterable, like something relevant to your list name. So it would be great if you come back from some point of project and if you come back, you can understand it more easily, not only for you, for other members in your project. Okay. So suppose now let's do a couple of things in here. Okay. Suppose I have a sum. I need to create a sum of, I want to create, I need to know the sum of all the numbers in my list, right? So how can I do that? So I'll create first of all, list itself, uh, create integer. I'll initiate it with 0. Let it be 0. I'll start off with my for loop I, where I have kept I as my iterator in my list. Okay. Now let's list sum equals to list underscore sum plus. So every time I need to, like, I want to sum each and every of the elements in my list, right? So for this instant of the time when my loop starts, for very first iteration, my value of I would be 1, right? As we see, first in the first loop we have 1 as the value. So then it goes to the next, then we have 3, then we have 6, then we have 7, then we have 8, then we have 9. So it will iterate accordingly. So in order to have a sum of all the values of the element, let's go with this. So yeah, so what do we, what if we print sum? Do we get? It's 34. It's sum of the all. Suppose as you can see, this indentation over here, uh, the print is outside of the for loop, right? Because in order to execute this print inside the for loop, I need to make this, it must have the indentation that is equal to the previous, like this, right? It should come just below that with 4 spaces, right? We'll do the nested thing later in the classes, so don't worry about that. So what do you think we will get if we put that in the list? So yes, we will get the tally of this for the very first loop. When for the very first iteration, our list value was 0. So 0 plus I, which was 1, I guess. Then 0 plus 1 is 1. So we get 1. For next iteration, the value of list sum was 1. So 1 plus I, which is 3 in this case. So I 1 plus 3, which is 4 now. So we have a nice tally of the sum of the elements here, right? So this this is, if we put it outside, we'll get whole, whole summation, right? So yeah, this. So what we can do, we can also, suppose I will create a string, my string, oh, my string, hello. We can also iterate it, as Rahul said, it is also iterable. So can we iterate through this in a for loop? So answer is yes, you can. For I in my, so what we'll do is, let's print I. We have this nice hello over here. We have a couple more feature in print statement itself. So you see, for after every execution of the every iteration of the for loop, we have a word printed in the next line. So by default, we have a one parameter in print function, that is, it passes space, sorry, \n, that is for next line, as default value. So if we put this, we have everything in lineup. So we can leverage this while suppose we want to draw or write something in pattern, like we have quotes in pyramid pattern, we have many things. So we can leverage that whatever we want. Suppose we can also put some symbol over here. No worries. So you see, we have a symbol. So this is something you can use. Okay, we have started with our for looping through our list. Then we went to string, how we iterate through string. Now let's try out it the same for tuple. But in tuple, add blocks. Yeah, nice. So here, suppose I have a tuple of like my tuple like 45, 356, 96, 74, 33. Okay, fine. I have my tuple. So same, we'll start off with for. We'll introduce our iterator in our iterable, which is my tuple. So if I want to print I, so you see, this is exactly works fine and similar to our list thing, right? So suppose I have some list. with tuple embedded in it, right? Suppose I have a list which has tuple 1, comma 2, comma tuple 3, comma 4, tuple 5, comma 6. Okay, suppose we have this here. So what do we expect? We expect tuple one tuple at a time, right? So we have a tuple here, one for first iteration. We have zeroth value here. We have a zero. Iterator will iterate through the list, right? Understand this. This is the nested thing here. So iterator will iterate through the index of the list, the most outer function. Like list here is a function which has tuple embedded in it. So iterator will go to the zeroth position. Whatever it find, it might be from one tuple, from one number to huge tuple like 10 million. It will consider it as one entity, so it will print you 1 2. So be careful about that, right? So suppose I want to grab this first value in order to get my work done. So here we have a concept like it is called tuple unpacking, right? A tuple unpacking, what is it? So I have to introduce is I need to introduce one tuple of myself, right? Suppose I want to print just first position. So whatever might be the position, we have to position in every index. So suppose it might not be the case. We have a like uniform tuple. So here you might be having 3 here. So in that case, it won't follow this tuple unpacking. It will follow. It will give you first 2 value, then third will be you can't do that, right? So suppose I want to print A and print B. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 just in the range. So uh, in fact, you don't need this parenthesis also. It will work as fine as that. As you can see, this works quite good. Suppose we have triple values. Suppose 8, 28. In this case, we need to introduce a third iterator. Whatever I mean, third iterator. Let's print it also. Oh, sorry. As you can see, we have our third value also. Okay, that was all about the tuple unpacking and looping through our tuple. So as you can see, for loop is way more popular and most used loop. We have one more to learn along, which is while. So mostly people use for loop to iterate through certain things. Okay, both for loop and while loop has their perks. So we'll learn in a bit. So let's go to dictionary. How do we create a dictionary? Suppose I create a dictionary. I'll give them a key. So are we good with tuple and list or string? Hello.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, fine. Let's. I've created a dictionary. So yeah. How? Okay. Is something wrong? Okay, we can't put equal to, it is actually colon. Okay, now it's worked just as fine. So so I want to, let's try the usual thing we do in our tuple or list, I in D, right? So let's print out our I. So what do we expect? We have all the key with the self. For example, let's say we want all the things in our, we want to iterate through keys as well as value. So we have a, so we can't do it directly in the dictionary thing. So we have a method called items. So if we go through that, we have a tuple of, sorry, a tuple of key and value pair, right? We have a key and value here. Similarly, we can do our tuple unpacking over here also. So if we want to do it, we have I for key and J for our values. No problem with that. So we have another things we can iterate through the individual thing, that has no problem. We can iterate through individual. We have a method called keys. It will give me all the keys. We have method called values. It will give me all the values. So I'll comment it there. D dot items equal for tuple key comma values, right? D dot keys for just keys, and okay, why am I comparing this? D dot values for accessing values, right? This was all about our dictionary, how we trade through dictionary, how we use for loop in dictionary. Yes. So couple of things more I would like to, so before that I will explain you while. Okay, we'll go through while. What is while loop? So first of all, we'll learn the syntax, which is nothing but while. It is also a control flow type looping. So we have while loop if certain condition is true. So we you need to be lot more careful while using while loop, because it can ruin your program execution within seconds. So you need to careful as a beginner. You need to be lot careful. Why? So if we have certain statement, suppose we have a true. So whenever this condition is true, it will loop this. It will execute this loop. Suppose I have, let's say, print. Okay, let me start off with x equals to 0. Okay. Okay, while x is greater than 5. Oh, sorry, less than 5, print x, suppose, and we need to, So what do we expect over here? So we have every time we punch in while our condition is true, or first of all we have x as 0, our condition was first fulfilled, and later this code was executed. What this code says, it prints x, right? It prints x. So first of all it was 0, then we incremented its value by +1. So why do we need to increment this? Suppose if we don't increment this, so you know what I said, while loop will iterate, or you can see execute this code forever, because it if I do increment this by 1, it would never be go false, it would never be greater than it won't be greater than or equal to 5. So this condition will not go false. If it does not go false, if it always remains true, so this loop will run till the infinite times. So your compiler or your Jupyter notebook may get stuck. So in that case, you go to the kernel, you hit interrupt. Sometimes interrupt won't work because your code will run and run and run for the infinite time. So your computer might be get occupied and it won't work. So you hit restart and you need to rerun your all the cells, right? So it might be a bit confusing while using, you need to be more careful while using the while loop, right? It must have logics. So one of the neater way to execute this statement, like x equals to x plus 1. So don't get bothered if you see this kind of statement, like it is similar. Like this statement, x plus equals to 1 is exactly equals to x plus 1. So this is the compact way of writing this statement which is down. Okay. This was the while loop, right? Okay. So what if, so let's say, what if while loop also, as I said, it is a control flow type statement. What if this statement goes false, then what? It will stop working. So we can add a else statement also. Print, suppose I want to print I fail. So it went I fail at last. Whenever this won't be true, if this is true, it will run and run and run until the condition goes false. Whenever it goes false, it fails. Okay. Suppose I'll make this as 9. It will be false in the very first iteration. Then it will go in the else block. All right. Do we have question on while loop, or is it fine?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Okay. Now let me talk about few statement. Sorry. We have a pass function. Suppose we have a for loop in range of in my list. If for now I don't want to do anything, so can I keep this thing without getting an error? No, we can't get this thing. So we can pass a keyword which is called pass, literally pass. So if we put a pass, so it doesn't do anything. It won't give you an error. It will lie there as a placeholder. So you can leverage this also in your codes wherever you want to, like you want to create this loop. and keep it for further execution. Okay. Uh, Second one was break. Okay. Suppose I have a, I'll start off with while. I have a while loop x equals to greater than 5. X is less than 5. Let me make, okay. X equals to 0. Let me initiate it. So suppose if x equals to 2, suppose wherever I want, for some reason I don't want to get, like, I don't some reason if I get 2, I want to break it, break our loop. So if I want to do that, so I will pass a keyword which is called break. Whenever it will have that, the value 2, that will, it will break out of that loop. So as you can see, I have made that mistake, and it will run this like infinite times. So what we have to do, we have to restart this. We need to restart. What was I supposed to do? I was supposed to write this statement, which I forgot, right? So yeah, we got 0, we got 1. The moment we hit or x equals to 2, we break out of the loop. Okay, this was one of the application of break. It can be applied in many ways. You will learn slowly how to use break, why to use pass,